Yeah. Yeah. Does someone have a question? Go for it.
Well, I guess it goes more to rendering. Like for some
Okay.
of the stuff I see, it's you get like a full lit, like what a render would do. And then some other stuff I see sometimes for characters is where they pick a certain part of the thing and put the light there or make it stronger, and then everything bleeds off of that, even though not how I would think you would render it correctly. Are you just looking for more of like kind of what we're doing with the thumbs, where you pattern an interesting light source out that makes the design read more the way you want it when you're rendering like that? Or do you want to just always
It all
render it as if it's...
depends. It all depends on what your goals are. Um, my point is, whenever I say you should take it to the finish line, what I mean by that is relative because there's some artists who go super super tight. There's artists who are not as tight. But the reality is, what you're presenting to people is artwork that needs to be conceived, that is clear. Okay, and if you show somebody something that's a lot like a lot of loose painting and stuff, like modelers can't model from that, you know? Like how are they going to determine what kind of materials and stuff certain things are if it's just a black silhouette still or it's just a little bit of patch painting, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you got to think like who else is going to be looking at this artwork? Are you cool with putting it up as a poster? Like if someone were to make a poster of it, would you be cool with that? And if the answer is no, then clearly you're not done yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get that. It's just like, how do you know, how do I word this? When you're like rendering or putting in the lighting, when it, like to make it look good. Like I can put in a light and try and render all the parts of the armor or the character out as if it's like a natural light, but then it might not look good. And I don't, mm, I don't know how to say this. Like, how do you go about rendering it to make it look really interesting
Give me
with
an
like a
example.
photo?
If you're having a hard time
Oh boy,
explaining it, just send me a picture. Show me an
I'm trying to
example of
find
what you
stuff.
think would be good.
Like right away, like the one that I usually like, where they soften it up a lot, is Rinjia's work.
Ruin Jaya?
Yeah, like they'll have like the things like completely rendered, but they always pick like a specific spot where they want the viewer to focus, and the light kind of like bleeds off of that.
So one thing is Ruin Jaya is an illustrator, which means he can get away with it being loosey-goosey. But even he doesn't have loosey-goosey paintings, right?
Yeah,
Because the artwork is the final product. Does this make sense? So he can
yeah,
hide things in shadow. He doesn't have to necessarily render it all the way. He's not a concept artist. Here's a good example. He didn't design this. Someone else did. He's just painting it to make it look good, right?
yeah.
Yeah, there's a combination. You can like make your stuff have an illustrative look, but then at the same time be very refined. You know,
Yeah.
and Runejaya has examples of that too. It's not like he doesn't have really refined work. He absolutely does, right? But like right here,
Hmm.
where it's all just blurred out and stuff, that's illustrative stuff. If you're doing
All right.
illustration, then it changes the scope of the assignment. But if you're doing a character design, then you need to have something that like because you could do that with Runejaya stuff. So like we looked at this. Now, how would I go about modeling and texturing those legs? Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they're still kind of ambiguous, aren't they?
Yeah.
Are they metal or are they stone? Do you know?
Okay. So we shouldn't focus on trying to make the piece read good. It should
No, you should
read.
make it read good. That's my point. My point is that this doesn't read good. That the part of the illustration is that it is supposed to kind of just like fade away. It's like part of the artwork itself. But like this is what you put in front of a poster. This is like specifically this is for Legends of the Cryptids. This is like literally card art, you know? So it doesn't have to be 100%, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Because no one's going to model this. No one's going to create this. This is the final product. But as a concept artist, it's important to learn how to make something that people can actually make, you know? And so then when you look at something like, excuse me, what's the Orion minor name? Take a look at Ryan's body of work. We'll go through the evolution of it. All right, so like if you look at like some of his older stuff before he started working for Marvel, you know, even this as loose as it was, right? It's clear. Like we get a really clear sense of a lot of the different things. But as the years gone by, he gets better at material indication, you know?
Okay.
And so these are things that costume designers can look at and then they can make, you know?
Yeah.
This is what concept art is. But you can make it look illustrative, like you can put it in a background, pose the character or whatnot, right?
Hmm.
But Ryan
But
is,
everything needs to be clear.
yeah, everything needs to be, like, can we make it? After looking at it, is it possible to create it and manufacture it at some level, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I think this is the latest thing he did, which is freaking awesome. Black Panther.
Yeah.
And
So
so,
good.
if you look at like Marco Djurdjevic stuff too, he's a good example. He's a good mixture of the two worlds because he knows how to illustrate and he knows how to do concept art, right?
And what's his name?
Marco Djurdjevic? You don't know Marco?
Yeah.
All
I
right,
think
so
so.
you must know of him. If you don't know him
I,
by name, you definitely know his artwork if you saw it.
yeah, I usually have a problem with people's names.
Like something like this,
1 sec. Oh, okay, yeah.
right? So there's like Marco's concept art, but then his illustrations are, you know, really exciting too. Let's see if I can find
Everybody
him.
knows Marco.
Marco's classic. He's like one of the OG concept artists.
Yeah.
But then you look at something like this, which you see it serves a different purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're not like most of the characters obscured and all that stuff. But the thing is Daredevil's already designed. He's not designing Daredevil, but this character is designed by him. You know?
Yeah.
So when I say you should have a piece of reference for quality, it could be Ruin Jaya, but I'll be able to tell you like right away, like what is this form? What is that material? You know?
Okay.
Yeah, man. Good question.
Sorry, it was confusing me because like some of the stuff I really like is I guess more illustrative and it just captures my eye a lot more than some of the stuff that's more concept-y, and I didn't know if I should render one way or the other.
Yeah, that's fine. Like I'm a big fan of all that stuff too, right? Like, I love illustrations and really loose paintings and well painted paintings, you know. But at the
Mhm.
same time, uh, the kind of stuff that I did that worked were always the ones that were very clear. If you look at like, I have a lot of stuff that I did for God of War. Let's see if I can find it just via Google search. And this is like almost 5 years old. Some of the stuff that I did. And if you look at like some of the orthographics, you can see kind of, this is where I learned my lesson because when I didn't do this, the modelers would bring it back and they would not, like if I painted a little black stripe, they would paint a black stripe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, it's just like, it's clearly not like, it's just like a paint strip. They're like, nope, that was in the concept. And I'm like, what? Are you serious? You know? Because they would
Yeah.
pass it, they would send this stuff to China and then China would do it. And so you see what I'm saying? Like, you'd have to have the information very clear for people to understand what they're gonna render and paint,
Okay.
right? And here's like my iterations that I did for like a character. You know, and they're loosey goosey, sure, but these are just sketches. You know, I had to live up to like people like Charlie Wen and Ryan Meinerding. So that was intense. I don't see any other. Yeah, it's not loading. If you go to my blog, there's a good amount of work there. Old school blog. And there's tons of stuff that I did there.
Oh, this is dope.
Yeah, man. Anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude. Oh my gosh, headache just hit me like a freight train right now. I didn't get started painting. There's this artwork that I found on ArtStation by these guys. I really like it, so I want to try to see if I can get inspired by it. Before I get started with the demo. Like, I love these drawings right here. These ones are really cool. It's kind of weird, like long lens type of shot. So cool.
That's pretty dope.
In couscous.
What? Couscous.
Amiga, you ready?
It's like a badass Cthulhu. Look at that. Alright, I think I'm gonna paint something. Anywho, any other questions?
I have a question.
Okay, I love you, sweetheart. Not you specifically. It's talking to my wife. You're saying? Go ahead. What was your question?
Yeah. So I think I have two main questions. The first being kind of a misconception that maybe I have and some peers of mine when we're talking about concept art is that concept artists need to be capable of doing like a lot of different things like characters, environments, props, and whatever. So what is kind of what is it for a specific concept artist, a single person? What is the expectation of them? Or like, are they hired for one specific thing they're good at, um, or are they expected to do more variety of assignments when they're on the job?
It all depends on who you work for.
Sure.
Yeah, there's no right answer.
Okay.
I would say that being able to design. Sweetheart, can you not be too loud, baby? So like, it all depends on, it all depends on the team you work for, the kind of work that you got hired for. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I think it goes back to like people just are curious what they should have in their portfolio. And I always tell, we talked about this in a previous class, you should have
Mm-hmm.
stuff that you want to do in your portfolio.
Yep.
Okay? You shouldn't worry about whether a job wants you to do more or less. I'm a character guy, so I like never done environments really professionally. I've probably done like maybe 10 my whole career.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if they hire me and they're like, hey, we're going to have you do a bunch of environments, it'd be kind of weird. It'll be their fault, not mine.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because I didn't advertise that I do environments. And if they hire you, during the interview process, they'll ask you, like, can you do this? Can you do that? You just tell them yes or no, you know? Like, don't be afraid of saying no. I think, like, sticking to your guns is more valuable than just getting that job opportunity, right? But as for like your task, yeah, you won't be drawing cool stuff all the time. That's something that you can definitely count on. You know, some studios will have you draw. Some studios will have you draw really, really basic things, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like crates and stuff like that, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
other studios will have you paint like really cool things, you know, like monsters and main characters and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you just gotta, you know, you just gotta be able to do whatever they ask you to do. Um, but more importantly, like in terms of do they make you do characters or environments, all this stuff, it all depends, you know, because some studios will need all that stuff. A good way of thinking about this though is like the smaller the studio or the smaller the art team, then the more responsibilities you're gonna have to do. You're gonna be doing all kinds of things. The bigger the art team, the more specific you're probably gonna have your tasks, right? When I was at Sony, there was 4 other character guys, you know, so you know I was able to just do characters. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's just environment guys, people that just did environments. You know what I mean? And so it was just kind of like it was nice. And at Blizzard is very similar, right?
Yep.
Because it's a big studio. But every small studio I ever worked for, they like sometimes would ask me to do environments. You know, and I was like, all right, sure. Just like to, I can do environments. Just don't like to.
All right.
Isn't it also like how they divide things up? Because I think at NetherRealms, I think Marco Neller might be the only concept artist right now, and he's mostly characters as far as I know. But then just like the rest of the people just kind of do double duty in whatever they like. Environment guys sort of handle all of it from the start.
Yeah, that happens too. You know, Marco's not the only one though. There's definitely others. He's only like
Oh,
one of
okay.
the best ones there for sure, but not the only one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's no. The moral of the story is there is no answer that I can give that would be reasonable. You know, because I don't work for I've never worked for every company in the world, right? I've only worked for a select few, and the ones that I worked at, I've seen a variety of difference in terms of how they work. And to generalize, the best answer I can give you is that sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
just like you got to figure out like what kind of application that they're looking for that studio. You know, so like if you just do some research, you can kind of find out on your own, really.
Okay.
Like I know Pixar, like the visual development team, like they pretty much do everything. You know, they cover all kinds of aspects. But like at Disney, they definitely have separation. It's okay. Yeah, but that's you know, I'd say the best thing you can do for yourself is just like I told you many times. You know, it's like just have the kind of work that you actually want to do. You know, because you'll get jobs doing it. Whatever you have in your portfolio is going to increase your chances of getting that type of job. So if you have environments, and characters, and all kinds of stuff, then you're gonna get a job doing environments and characters most likely. You know,
Yeah.
um, like my friend loves doing environments, and his portfolio is mostly environments. I love doing characters. My portfolio is mostly characters. You know, as soon
Mm-hmm.
as you put anything else in there, that's when people will start to reach out to you because of that specific thing. Yeah, I'm gonna put some color in this. Yeah, good question though.
I suppose the other thing I was wondering about is we're all kind of focusing on like the epic, realistic kind of stuff in class right now. But is the process for like more cartoony stuff, such as like Nico Marlette and like Kung Fu Panda, the cartoons and that kind of stuff, is the process pretty much the same as
Yeah,
far as
sure.
making the character designs?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a little bit more personality that's given to that kind of work, but it's relatively the same. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, in fact, if you do cartoony stuff in my class, I'm not against that. It's just I look at whatever is submitted. You know, I have someone in the morning class, for instance, who's a little more stylized to their work, and I let them stay that way because, like I said, I'm a big fan of making you do what you want to do. You know, I can care
Yes.
less about what the industry is looking for because the industry is always going to be changing, and they're always going to be looking for something different. You know,
Yep.
so adapting to the industry is kind of backwards. You should adapt to yourself. In terms of tools, I think you should learn like different tools of the trade and adapt yourself to that and like fundamental ideals. But you shouldn't just be caught up with like being stuck with like, oh, I should just do realistic military soldier stuff because, Call of Duty. It's like, no, don't do that.
Hmm.
Unless you love Call of Duty, then absolutely do that.
Are we still going to have a Friday class before Edge Control, or?
Oh yeah, thanks for reminding me. So next week we're not going to have a Friday class. But what will happen is we'll substitute it. We'll have another Friday class, Oh, not Friday, but it'll probably be like a Wednesday class. Basically, we just offset it a little bit. So that way we still have like the 8 classes, just might not be, it might be on a Wednesday as our last class, you know what I'm saying? And with that being said, you know what, I'm going to do this painting over again. I had a strategy, but I don't think I like it. Um, so uh, I am going to still critique your guys' work. I still imagine you guys will submit. But the critiques will probably be like verbal or written. I'll write it down and just tell you guys what you need to work on, so that way you're not twiddling your thumbs. But I'm gonna be in uh, Toronto, so I won't be capable of kind of. Most likely, I won't have time to just sit down and do videos or sit down for the class. If for whatever reason I can, then I'll let you guys know before, right? But um, in the past, it's almost never happened. So I'm just gonna say there's no class. But like I said, we're gonna just move the class forward more. Just like basically Wednesday, and then next week we'll have Wednesday, Friday, and then like the last class will be on the following Wednesday after that. It'll be like the last final class. Yeah, but doing this approach, I don't know why I did the other one. I was trying to go without some ideation. With this approach where I'll just scribble some sort of imagery, and then I'll just kind of throw the airbrush on top of this. Works out really well. Any other questions?
What are some good big events you think would be well worth traveling to with your portfolio and just to meet people projecting forward to get into the industry?
Well, there's a lot. There used to be not that many, but now there's a ton. One of them that's coming up is THU,
Oh, yeah.
but that one I think is already sold out.
They got Mr. Concept Art actually going.
Yeah.
Is that officially Ben Morrow? Like,
I have no idea.
unofficially? Officially?
I have no idea.
Ah, okay.
Wait, where's that rumor from?
Huh? Mr. Concept Art? I think he was the first one to kind of joke about it, and then
Well, he's asking where the rumor came from. That was Ben Morrow.
yeah.
Like, where do you get that information from? That it's
Oh,
Ben.
as in no, I thought he is actually Mr. Concept Art himself.
No, nobody knows.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Leo knows from our station because he could followed the IP, and he found out who it was. And I was like, what? That's tight. He's like, yeah, you want to know? And I was like, no, it's okay. I liked it that it's a mystery.
I mean, it's pretty cool. So it's like our own Banksy.
There was that one a little while ago where Banksy did a piece outside of a school, and he like was, all right, kids, join in and paint along, and then the teachers were all like, no, don't you dare. Oh man, where was it? It was really funny reading the article because they wanted to like frame it and then get school funding because they had a Banksy piece on their wall.
Yeah, this concept art is awesome. All right. Any other questions, friendos?
I did have a question, but I have to try and remember it now because I forgot.
It's all good.
I have a question.
Yeah, man, go for it.
I have a dream of having a triple career, like doing concept art,
Cool.
also doing like illustration, but not like concept art illustration, but like editorial illustration, like where there's like different rules, like no perspective and stuff, and also doing like fine art. Is that something that you've seen someone succeed in or something like that?
Yeah, Alberto Maego kind of does that.
What's the name?
Alberto Maego. But I mean, even if there wasn't, you could be the one. You don't need anyone else to show you the way. You could be the one that shows all of us the way.
But isn't it like difficult, like because some of these things like need different like skill sets? A
Yeah,
bit.
absolutely, sure. It's difficult. But if that's the only thing stopping you, then yeah, I guess it won't happen, right?
Okay.
If I stopped because somebody told me something was difficult, then I wouldn't be teaching you guys today. You understand? People, you don't know how many people told me that being a character concept art was really hard. Dude, being a character concept artist is really hard. You got to diversify your portfolio. Dude, you only have characters? How are you going to get a job in this industry? And I was like, well, by being a good character designer. The fuck you thinking I was going to do? You know? And when people tell me something's hard, it's like, of course. Right?
But it's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't it be possible? Like, explain to me why it would not be possible. Like, if you put yourself in a situation like that,
Mm.
ask yourself why you think it would not be possible.
I can't think of a reason.
Then it's possible. Okay? Let me give you an example so then you could absolutely think of why it's not possible. Touching the sun. Can you give me a reason why you can't touch the sun?
Not high enough.
Well, that's one.
Oh,
That's one way.
that is one reason.
Yeah, it's one of many. Well, outside of the fact that you can't even get close to it, right? Because it would eviscerate you millions of miles before you even get close to it, right? But that's for now, right? Maybe one day our bodies will be sentient and we'll be like this kind of we'll be energy, and we can totally touch the sun. But as of now, we can't, right? So practically speaking, that's not a dream that if you had, I would say you can't do that. But being able to draw for 3 different types of art forms is like not impossible at all. It's like, are you kidding? It's like not hard to imagine how to do that, you know? And if that's something you want to do, then by all means do it, man. You just got to be patient, I think if you're trying to say, so like here's a good example again. I want to try to do all 3 of these things by tomorrow. That might not be possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
But why you want to do it till tomorrow? Why do you want to do it in a year? Why does it have to be done in a year? Why in 2 years? Why 3 years? You know? How old are you? If you don't mind me asking.
34.
Okay, 34. That
Yeah.
means if you were to spend 3 years of your life devoting it to all these different things, you would only be 37. You'd still be relatively young.
Yeah.
right? Imagine if you
And
spent,
someone said me if I make it like till 40, then it's okay. Later is harder.
yeah, I don't see why it would be harder, but like, I don't understand how it'd be harder when you get older. Um, it's like the
Difficult
opposite.
to move or something like that, maybe.
Well, yeah, well then eat healthy. Then don't immobilize your body by the age of 40. I know plenty of 40-year-olds who are not on the brink of death.
No, I mean like moving like with the family and stuff.
I know plenty of people that have families that can move. Like remember, like as soon as you start, like you got to understand, you're your worst enemy in terms of what can be done. You understand that?
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Because as soon as you say you can't do something, or as soon as you say, well, I don't know if that's possible, then you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. There's
Yeah.
nothing I can say or do to change that reality, you know?
Yeah.
Because even though you're wrong, I can't do anything about it because you believe you're right. You know, it's not about the things that we don't know that screw us over. It's the things that we do know that screw us over.
Yeah.
Does it make sense? Because
Yes.
if you truly believe something and you're wrong, but you don't want to back down from that belief, then there's nothing we can do about it, can we?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's not about what you don't know, it's about what you do know. Like, are you sure you know what the fuck this is? You know, like, are you sure you're right? And I usually say, I usually go on the fence of saying, no, I don't think I do know 100%. I only teach
Yeah.
things that I know, things that I've seen happen, things that like, a great example is just a moment ago, someone asked a question about like, what is the job at hand, right? And I told them, I don't really know because I've not worked for every company, but I can tell you exactly what I did and what, on a general level, what you can expect. Because that's the truth. When I went to Croatia, there was two lectures. One lecture was done by Marko Djurdjevic. One was done by Shadi Safadi. Really great artists, both of them.
Shadi's so good.
Shadi said, if you don't use 3D in Photobash, you're never going to make it in the industry. And then Marko Djurdjevic said, if you don't do line art, you'll never work in the industry. The fuck? They're both right, but they're both wrong. You know what I mean?
Basically, no one can work in the industry.
Yeah, it's so stupid. Like, they're both right and both wrong. Both right. How are they right? If you have a good, strong foundational drawing skills like Marco, then you can really achieve a lot. If you
Yeah.
know how to use tools really well, like 3D and photo bashing, then you can achieve a lot, right? But to say that those are the only ways to make an industry, where both of these people are the leaders of their industry, they both contradicted themselves. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah.
it's so silly, right?
Yeah.
It's just that's what they believe, and that's what they do, and that's how they're successful. Doesn't mean that's how you're successful, or how you're going to be successful. It could be one of the ways, but not the only way. Right? That's kind of the point I'm trying to make here.
Yeah.
I do. My method of strategy is I do whatever makes me make good artwork. You understand?
Mhm.
And my favorite weapon of choice is painting. Is painting the only way? No, man, no way. Is it my favorite way? Absolutely. But that's an opinion now, right? That's not reality. I know hundreds of artists who do photo bash, you know,
Mhm.
and they're super successful. So you just got to ask yourself what you're willing to do and for your dream jobs, what's going to make you stand out. I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't know anything about editorial. I don't know what it takes to do those things. But if I had an inclination for that, then I would start making moves to be good at those things. Got it?
Get it.
I'll start looking into what it takes. I had a coworker, and we were talking about like space and stuff, and I brought up the point that I want to be an astrophysicist one day. And I'm thinking like when I'm in my late 30s or early 40s, I'm going to start becoming an astrophysicist. And he laughed, right? He thought I was joking. And then he was just like, oh, wait, you're not joking? And I was like, no, why are you laughing? So doesn't that take a lot of time? It's going to be very difficult. And I was like, yeah. What's your point? You know? And he's just like, I don't know, I guess. Like, it just doesn't seem, we don't hear that happen that often. And it's like, yeah, well, just because you don't hear it happen that often doesn't mean it doesn't ever happen. Right? There's that guitarist, I forgot the name of the band, it was a really popular band who became an astrophysicist later in his life. I mean, I'm lucky that there is actually an example of someone from the creative field going to the more scientific fields, right? But I told him, I was like, this is how I do it. I was like, okay, let's say I'm 37 and I decide to become an astrophysicist. If I spend 10 years and devote 10 years of my life, that means I'll be close to 50. I'd still be relatively young, especially if I'm able to live to 100 years old based off of modern medicine, you know? And it's like, that doesn't seem impossible at all, does it?
No, no.
It's just, you just got to think about it, right? You just got to consider, like, the reality of it. The reality is, yes, you can absolutely do that. Now, will it be easy? Like, as you said, you said, isn't that difficult? And I say to you, fuck yes. You are going to be on a very difficult road. So the question is that something you want to do?
Yes.
And then do it. Don't let me tell you that you can't do it because it's hard. Don't let other people fucking tell you that something's not possible, right? I'm not living your life. Whatever you do is up to you, man, right? And what I care about is what my students do that makes them happy. Because even if you never achieve this stuff, like let's say you never achieve it for whatever reason, but you end up very, very happy trying to, then that's great.
Mm.
You know? Because the life's very shortened, right? And you don't want to be spending their time trying to figure out stuff. Just start doing stuff. You know? I'm going to tell you a fable. It's a very, very good fable. You want to hear it?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So the fable is based off an idea around a fig tree, a tree that has figs. Okay? I think the story is called The Fig Tree. And in this story, there's a lady, and she's looking at this tree. And each branch on the tree has a potential path that she could live. One is that she's an eccentric artist. Another one is she's a doctor. Another one she's like a family woman. Or another one she's a famous author, actor, so forth and so on. There's all these different paths that she can take, and she can be, and she can have, right?
Mm-hmm.
But she just can't decide because all of them look so great. And she's afraid that if she chooses one over another, that she might be missing out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as she's like deliberating on whether she do one or not another, a branch from the fig tree falls, and the one path is now can never be done. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but she still has plenty of options. There's plenty, so many still. So she's still looking over them, and as she's deciding, she's still having a hard time deciding what should I do, what should I do, and another branch breaks. Okay, and now she's really losing track of all the things that she can do. Another branch breaks, and she grabs onto one branch, but then as she's grabbing on, she looks over to another branch and she sees, oh, I could have done that. So now she wants to try to do that, and then when she lets go of the other one breaks, and then so forth and so on. And she is, this whole time, she's just trying to grab onto one of these branches to try to pick a path, but yet she can never decide. And eventually she's sitting there, and all the branches, except for a few, are still there. There's like a few that left, and she has to choose eventually one or another. But she still cannot decide, and it's too late. The branch breaks, the last final branch. Even the only choice that she had left, she didn't even choose because she was thinking so much about all the ones that she missed out on. And the tree dies, and the story ends.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of the story is that the moral of the story is that if you're thinking too hard about all the things you can do or want to do, you're not really doing anything, right? The reality is that whatever you choose, just choose, because you'll live your life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When I was 16 years old, and if I came back to the 16-year-old version of myself and told myself, hey, you're going to be a well-known concept artist in the industry. You're going to work on movies, video games. You're going to design costumes. You're going to work for one of your favorite video game companies, Blizzard, drawing pictures. The 16-year-old will be like, what in the fuck? That was never on my mind. That never crossed my mind. You know?
Mm-hmm.
But because life and things, and I react, I'm very reactive. And I'm also very proactive, right? I make a choice and I try to live with it. I stick with it, because I know life is too short to kind of just deliberate on what I could have done, right? It's a waste of time. The past is really an illusion, isn't it? I mean, obviously it exists. It's what shapes us, for sure, right? And scientifically speaking, it exists, but we don't have any control over it. The idea of the past is an illusion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of the future is also illusion, okay? So really all you can do is like make a choice now and do something now. So if you want to work in editorial, maybe you will, maybe you won't. You don't really know for sure, do you? But it doesn't matter because you want to do it. And with that being said, most likely it will happen. Accomplishing your dreams isn't as difficult as you might think, especially if they're as reasonable as yours. Yours is very reasonable. There are some that are not reasonable, but that one's very reasonable. I don't see why that's not possible at all for you.
Yeah, well, thanks for reassuring me.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. So when you become that epic artist that does all the things and you're famous, remember the little guys, yeah?
Yeah, of course. Gonna write it down.
Yeah, thank you. Hope that
Oh,
helped.
man, President.
Obama.
I want to be a firefighter.
I actually wanted to be a firefighter because I liked helping people. I've always loved helping people.
Mm.
And I felt like that was the most glorious of all service jobs, or not service job, government jobs. Like being a cop, I didn't want to be a cop. One, I didn't want to have to be in a position that I would have to shoot somebody. And second, I don't want to deal with criminals. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
A firefighter, the only thing you're fighting is fire. Right? You're just dealing with.
Or cats in trees.
Yeah, which is cool. You get paid a lot of money too. It's good.
You do sit around for most of the day though, if you're in a quiet area.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I was cool with that. I play video games.
Yeah. Oh, I remembered my question actually.
Go for it.
I was wondering if you're going to do portfolio reviews at any point.
Yeah, sure. At the end of the class, I could do one.
All right, sweet. Yeah. So I don't think I've had a portfolio review since I was in high school, so I don't know where things stand.
All right, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, totally. Yeah, hopefully that story helps you guys out. I know it's anecdotal. It's not real. It's like a fable. How do you go about rendering details? I've been just painting and smudging and wait, hold on, let me read that. And I'm smudging and trying to put them together on another layer, mask it and in. Yeah, I mean, for me, rendering is a very, how do I say this? Rendering is just a marathon, man. There's no fast way of doing it. Okay? You just gotta just render. Um, the faster, you get faster at it for sure by making less mistakes, by like knowing your own process really well, knowing things that you do that are bad habits. But the only way to really get to that point, right? That's nothing I can teach. That's the thing about that. Like I can't really teach that because I don't know what your bad habits are. I don't know what is the thing that you're doing a lot of. But you've just pointed out that you smudge and move, smudge and stuff. So maybe why don't you figure out why you keep doing that? Like what is the reason for this? Like what is it you're trying to achieve? Are you trying to fix a mistake? Are you trying to add more detail?
It's more like when I go to put in like the details and there's a form that's already curving, I try and like put in the details, but then like the gradation of that, of the values and colors are wrong. So I have to try and blend it in, but then it just starts looking kind of messy with the details. So then I started trying to just do like the basic forms, render them out, and then put the details on their own layer, and then put them, like fade them in and out that way instead of having to keep
Yeah,
moving
see.
them over the form.
So you're kind of already discovering the solutions. And another thing that you might want to do is then in the future try not to have that problem.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like there's nothing I can do, right? Like I can't. There's no secret because everyone has different problems. Like in the beginning, like a lot of the things that you guys are struggling with, I can definitely help and teach. But the rendering is just monotonous. It's just you just gotta fucking paint, right? You just gotta do it. You gotta grind it out. It's like a marathon run, like a marathon race, right? How do you finish a marathon race?
Keep running.
Keep running, right, until you're done. Or walk. You don't even have to run, right? You might get a really slow time, but that wasn't the question, was it?
No.
The question was how do you finish the painting? Like how do you get the rendering done? Now, how do you make it good? Then you start asking yourself, well, what do other people do? What are their tactics? You know?
Mm-hmm.
For me, a lot of what makes my paintings look finished is because I know a lot of shorthands. But like the problem though with that, Adam, is that I can't tell you how to do that, right? It's like trying to, like it's like Usain Bolt trying to explain to you how he runs fast, and then all of a sudden you go run fast. Yeah, right, right. It doesn't
Okay.
work that way, right? Because I've been painting for 10 years, like almost, right? And I've been practicing this art of speed painting for nearly most of those years, you know? So for
Mm-hmm.
me to say, oh, dude, it's just simple. You just lay down your forms, just start cross-hatching, and then done. Oh, by the way, you also have to have good understanding of perspective, proportions, anatomy, material indication. You got to understand every brush that you fucking touch. You have to understand the tool, like the back of your hand. Just do that and you got it, right? It's not that simple. But with that being said, a good tactic so that's me teaching you how to fish, right? So let me give you a fish. A good tactic is to render something off to the side. Like open up a new file and try to emulate, like basically make a laboratory of like how you're going to practice rendering a material on your own, the final design. Basically, maybe it's better not to practice on the actual thing you're painting, but on something else
Yeah.
that's abstract that you can throw away, you can try again, throw away, try again. And when you come back, you'll be wiser, right? I do that all the time. So that might be a more non-destructive way of learning how to get better at rendering. But the best way, to be honest, is just to do it and then cataloging like what you did wrong or what was frustrating you. Like what were the things that kept coming up that bothered you,
All right.
you know? And
Is is it
you
fine
already
if I
have
just
one.
like, sorry,
Go ahead.
it would be fine just to make notes of that stuff, and if it's still not fixed for next class, just bring them up with you, if that's okay.
Yeah, but I have a feeling, Adam, that you're pretty proactive in your own learning. I'm going to have a feeling you're going to figure it out on your own and you're going to have some good solutions. And you're going to have a different question probably to ask.
Yeah, I want to be able to do the rendering part really well and just make the concept that wow factor that I want instead of just being like, oh, it's another character.
Absolutely.
And like, I know part of that comes from like how you like look at a piece, like even just like the way you're letting this one looks like insanely interesting. And like, I want that with my render versus just like
Yeah,
another thing where you just look at it.
so that's actually not that difficult the way that I'm lighting this. There's only one light source. So what you're really saying is you need to be better with your forms. You might not have a good
Okay.
understanding of your forms. Usually when people say they have lighting issues, it actually means that they don't have understanding of their own form. Like you don't know how that form's curving actually, and that's what's making it so hard to light. So perhaps drawing like a geometrical, like a 3D kind of geometric drawing over on top of it might help you start seeing it when you go to light it.
Okay.
Because everybody understands how light works. They just, for whatever reason, forget when they start to paint their characters. Light hits the surface, and then it's lit.
It's lit.
Yeah, but the question is, what is the surface that it's lighting, right? Watch, I'll show you. I'll show you that you already know. So let's say I draw a cube. Yeah, let me draw it so that we can actually see the side. Okay. And then we'll label this A, B, and C. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And light is coming straight down. What side is being lit?
A.
Yep, you know lighting. Let's say light is coming from the side. What is being lit?
C.
You know lighting, dude. What if let's switch it up? What about if it's coming like a little bit at the angle? And it's not coming above, it's like coming straight on the sides.
The very corner, and then B and C.
Yeah, right? So what do I mean by people don't understand their forms? So let's go back to the first light. So they'll see this, but instead of lighting it like this, which would be accurate, right? They do this. You see the problem?
Yeah.
This is like a common thing that I see students do, is that they actually light the shape, not the form. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because all you need to do is light the form, and then bam, super high contrast. And then if you want to get a little bit more interesting, then just say, okay, this light is also hitting the table, which is then bouncing back up, lighting the sides. The nuances of color and stuff is a little bit more complicated than this, right? But lighting itself, it's not that difficult. There's a light and there's a shadow. And then graphic read-wise, like the things that are darker value stay dark when they're in shadows, and then they also are dark and light, but there's a different kind of dark, right? So something like this is about accurate. But if you take these out of context, you can see how different they are. So that's another problem that I see students do, is that they'll light this too much and they'll darken this too much. Yeah?
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's this lack of consistency is usually another problem.
So just for another quick one on that, for when you're studying material indication and practicing how to learn how to light them properly, like let's just say a type of fabric, are you just trying to look at the image and judge the range in which it's being lit in accordance to like the environment it's in,
Yeah.
and then taking that group range and using that as your material render limits?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Whenever I light things, I don't really pay attention too much to the accuracy of the actual lighting. I pay more attention to what does the image look like, and I'll just adjust accordingly. Like I'll make the background darker around lighter forms to make it stand out more,
Mm-hmm.
or I'll make things lighter to make things stand out more. It depends on how I'm feeling about it, right? But whenever I'm practicing, I would just look at the image and just try to understand what I'm looking at. Usually, whatever images I'm looking at, I gathered it for a reason. Right? There's something about it that sings to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And so I just try to figure out why I like those paintings or why I like the colors or whatever the reason is. I decided to choose that to study from, right?
Okay.
Because there's some paintings and painters out there that are really good at something, but I don't look at their work for for certain reasons. For instance, Rune Jaya, I don't look at his stuff for design, almost never.
Hmm.
But for like colors and lighting, like ideas,
Yeah.
like the way he pushes it, absolutely. But that's it. Design, I don't look at him. I like to look at people like Paul Richards for design, who doesn't do any lighting or
God,
painting.
Paul's so good.
But then he
His
is like,
visual remix stuff is amazing.
yeah, but do you see what I'm saying? Like I don't
Yeah.
look at like I don't look at just one source. I look at as many different because everyone has something really powerful about their paintings. There's some people who could do both like really well,
Mm.
paint and design really well. So sometimes I look at just one or two people that just do that. Like I feel like something like Jamie Jones is one of those people, and then another one is like John Park. You know, it's just like you just gotta study. Just look at a lot of artwork all the time, and whenever you're having a hard time rendering or practicing rendering, it's just a product of you just don't know how to render that thing usually. Like so, you had a problem with the forms and details, so that's just something that you just don't know how to do very well, right? So you need to figure out a system that you can use that will allow you to do it well,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
For me, one of the tools that I would use for that is just use airbrush a lot and then just not worry about the subtle forms yet entirely.
So just like do big forms and then work your way in, kind of like what we're doing with thumbs.
Yeah, I just do whatever it takes to just get a good image, but I don't really at the same time don't want to get too caught up with just rendering garbage. So I will just go practice off to the side. I like looking at classical painters because they are really smart. Like I love looking at Leyendecker. I looked at Leyendecker for years. Like years. And
What other class? Oops, sorry.
I still feel like I should be looking at his stuff. Like his stuff doesn't get old. Like it's still teaching me something. You were saying?
What other classical artists would you recommend to look at?
Sargent, Richard Schmidt, um,
Oh, Schmidt, yeah.
who else? There's Phil Hale, Jeremy Geddes. There's a lot. Johann Wiepert, or Georges Wiepert. He's another good one. Most people don't even know of him.
You spell his name?
Yeah, see? Most people don't know of him. It's the best kept secret in the industry. He's not alive, I don't think. I think he's long and gone.
Oh, this stuff. Okay. I've seen some of these before. Their Level Up had a big classical image dump, and I've seen a few of these.
The Russians have a good school of like classic art. Yeah.
Leave the Russians out of this. Yeah.
Damn commies.
Um, yeah, the Russian artists are really awesome though too. There is like different styles for different like countries too, which is really cool. I love seeing that. Like Japanese art has a very specific style. Then you have Chinese art, like Rinjaya, that has a very specific style. And there's places that have yet to have internet that I'm really excited to see what happens when they get some sort of internet. Because like some rural areas of Africa, for instance, because I'm really curious what happens when you mix their culture with modern digital art.
Yeah, we really haven't seen much pulled from there in terms of concept.
Yeah, so I'm
There's
saying.
some stuff out there I could probably link later.
So I'm saying,
Link now.
it's not. Yeah, it's not like very popular. Like, I wonder what the Craig Mullins of Africa would be like, or the Davy Jones of Africa.
That's who I'm trying to be.
Just do it.
Trying to be number one.
You could do it.
You should totally link the stuff though, please. I'd love to see it.
Okay, yeah, sure. If I can-
Ja, Zavenya, Anatavidavia, Humpa, Ja, da, da, Ja, Zavenya, Anatavidavia. Sorry, it's racist.
Hey, well, it's not from my country, so. Although I do know the words.
It's the national anthem.
No, I don't actually know what the original is from. I think it's just made up for that.
All right. Any other questions? Any other questions?
Like the companies that you work with, when they look at portfolios, do they like pay attention to stuff like graphic design or something like that ever, even if it's not mentioned like in the job description?
Do they like look at your graphic design?
Does it influence, like, is it like an advantage if it has some stuff?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, the way that I gauge this is put yourself in the shoes of a company.
Mhm.
Okay. Your boss says we're looking for environment designers. Okay. You go to your site. You have a couple environment designs there. You have a couple characters. You got some graphic design.
Mhm.
And then there's another person who has nothing but characters, and another person that has nothing but environments. You know, it's clear, right? Like, they're looking for environment artists. They're ignoring everything else, really, right?
Mhm.
Um, and the only time that they would probably hire somebody that had graphic design in their portfolio was that because their environments were just the best, and that person just happened to also have graphic design. Employers don't. It's it's not like a. It's pretty obvious. Is the solution to this question? Oh, hold on just a second.
Mhm.
Yes, come in. Huh? Okay. Bye. Huh? I'm sorry, what? Oh, you checked? Okay, hold on. Hold on just a second, guys.
Dude, that one you linked is freaking awesome.
Oh yeah, it's
That's
good
a
stuff.
comic?
Yeah, a graphic novel. Yeah.
Man. It reminds me a bit of like I want to say Miyazaki, like inspired.
I'm sure it's inspired by him. It's two South African artists and I think a French artist as well. I forget who's all involved, but yeah. See, I didn't have my own little project. I have a book, but it's not. I'm like on a level up first before I start putting it out.
You got your whole story planned out?
Oh yeah, no, it was my senior thesis in school, so I already actually made a book, but
Oh wow.
my painting skills weren't where I want them to be.
Mm-hmm.
If Anthony does do a portfolio review, some of the like concepts from that are in my portfolio. So
Can you share them now? I want to see.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Hold on. I was moving some stuff around. I forget where I was.
Wait, Kat, you own a peacock, or you have peacocks around your property? I think I've seen your stuff before. I definitely have. At least your newest one, the girl with the double earrings. I swear to God, I've seen that.
Let's see. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I do. On Art Cafe. At lunchtime every day, I post a sketch. Usually it's a portrait or something like that.
Nice, nice.
It's all up over. Actually, I should probably update my DeviantArt at some point. I don't often do that, and I probably should.
And you've leveled up big since your thesis one.
Yeah, that's why I like when I was making it. It was literally the week after I'd finished it, and I looked at the art, and I was just like, oh, okay, this is bad. Mainly because I was working on a crappy laptop, and the max resolution I could get was like super low, and everything was all janky, and I didn't really know what I was doing.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah.
So the answer to the question is that think about, like, employers are just going to hire the people that have good artwork, you know? It's not, it's, I don't know where this thinking came from, and I used to think this way too, which is like if you have more of something, it's just that it'll add more value to your resume. Like if I'm a plumber and I'm hiring another plumber and that person just happens to have good speaking skills, like I don't think that matters, does it? Right? Like you want someone that knows how to plumb, okay? Who knows all the technical know-how, right? That person can also do something else, and maybe you can spin it that you can spin like why that's valuable, but like they're hiring someone that can do the work, right?
Mm.
And so I would say the thing that you want to have in your portfolio, like think about the studios you want to work for, right? And then just think about what they would want to see in your portfolio. And if you don't know, then ask them. And if they don't answer, then just keep asking them. Who cares? Just keep asking until you find out. Or ask people that work there. Maybe they'll answer it for you, you know?
Mm.
But having more stuff in your portfolio that's outside of what they actually need I don't see how that will just generally be better for you, right? I've never been in a position specifically where they didn't hire me because I was a college dropout. They're like, what? You're a college dropout? Oh, all right, we're not gonna hire you. No, they're like, oh, your work's good. You want a job? I was like, thanks, I do. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's never just deciphered like some sort of weird algorithm. Like, would you hire a person who had decent environments, uh, but also graphic design versus someone who had amazing environments?
No.
No, right? Never. Like the graphic design part, would you even consider, right? You wouldn't, right? So, like, you just got to think about the jobs you want. For instance, you know, I like to think that I have good work, right? But Pixar's
Okay.
never Pixar's never going to give me a call, dude. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? I'm not going to get a job at Pixar. But I have character designs. Yeah, but my fucking stuff is nowhere going to be seen in those movies, you know? The only like the kind of places that I could see like would probably reach out to me would be people like the guys over at Atlas that make Dark Souls, right? Like I would not be shocked if they reached out to me one day, you know? I was once approached by 343 to do concept art on the next Halo, and I was like, nope, you guys are too far. I live in California. I don't want to move Seattle. But that makes sense because I have robots and stuff and like mechs, you know, in my portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wasn't like, what? Me? How? Why? What did I do to deserve this honor? It's like, no, I get it. I got robots and shit. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like they weren't looking at like this weird, like abstract kind of Braum style artwork and was like, yeah, we need this in our new Halo game. It's probably my mechs, you know? It's like whatever's in your portfolio, they're going to reach out to you. Like I had a job opportunity one time only where they hired me to do something that was not in my portfolio at all. And it was only because of like my abstract artwork that I had, right? And they're like, oh, like the way that you convey ideas is really unique. I want to have you do that for our project. But it had like nothing to do with like this type of stuff. It was like some sort of like, you know, Waterworld kind of game, you know? And I had nothing in my portfolio and he wanted me to do environments, you know? And it was like ass backwards and the project was just a complete flop on both ends. Like we just both could not see eye to eye. And it just didn't matter because our ideals are just different, you know? And there was nothing in my portfolio that conveyed what he wanted me to do, so it was weird. So in that instance, I blame myself. I shouldn't have taken the job. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Cool.
Thanks.
Oh, union? That only exists for the film industry. And it's very difficult to get into it. That's all I'm going to say about that. It is super difficult. Like, I never even got into it. To be honest, I didn't even want to. It's like, working in movies is freaking a drag. Some people love it. I hated it. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of movies. I'm a big fan of watching them, not a big fan of working on them. I love working at the games. It's mostly the environment that I like the most, like working with people and the artists on a project for long periods of time. That's a lot more fun to me. You build more of like a family relationship with the people you work with. But yeah, the union's really difficult. If you don't have a union, you can't work on movies for long periods of times. They have like workarounds, like the way that I was able to work on movies is that they like consider me a consultant. but I was pretty much a concept artist. Yeah.
Well, he's just an intern. Don't worry about him.
Yeah. Totally. That's pretty much what it was like. They pay really well. The film industry pays super good, though. It's like the best paying job for like a concept artist.
Yeah. Is it as I don't know. I don't hear much about like film concept art. I mean, I guess a lot of stuff is just sort of locked away. Projects that are in development hell or whatever. But I think there are only like maybe two or three famous like film concept artists that I can think of. Like, do they just not have as much of a
There's more. There's
online
definitely
presence?
more. You just don't realize it. Like Craig Mullins, Jamie
Oh yeah,
Jones, John
I
Park,
was thinking Craig Mullins.
Stephen Messing, Ryan
And then
Church, Neville Page, Scott Robertson. There's a lot. You just, if you really thought about it, there's actually quite a bit. Michelle Kachara. Yeah,
I
and
guess
if
I
you,
don't see the art as much.
yeah, because they're usually just working. They're always working on their movies
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And then every once in a while, they're like, "Here's all my works." Not everybody's like me too. Like post work often and talk to people often. You know, like some
Yeah.
people just don't want to talk to anybody. Just want to work and then move on, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, I
know,
forget who it was who said something like that. They were like, you've made it once you just stop posting. Your portfolio is like your stuff from like 10 years ago. And every single time you post, you're like, yeah, I'll update one of these days.
yeah, that's absolutely true. There's some sense to that because people are just working usually. But I think that's still bad business because those same people I hear complain sometimes about like missing out jobs for these newer cats, these young artists. Well, yeah, duh. And sharing knowledge is power too. It like encourages you to keep working better.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna stop the class. Getting tired. Oh man, oh, that's right. I was gonna do hand. I'll take one more question.
Oh, I was gonna ask if you're still down to do a review. You still wanna do that?
I meant like the end of the class, not the end of this class.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes more sense.
Yeah, so that if anyone else wants it, we can do kind of all together.
Yeah, sure.
So you're not the only one, jerk, taking up all
Screw these guys.
the... Any other questions other than the greedy question?
What about the guys that worked on the Lord of the Rings, like John Ho, or
Oh yeah, those
aren't
guys.
they like more illustrators than concept artists?
Yeah, totally. That's what I'm saying. Like,
How are they picked like for the project? They just like their illustration.
yeah, it's not a surprise, man. Like, if you really think about it, it makes sense, right? They're just good illustrators, and they like, Peter Lee was looking, or sorry, not Peter Lee, Peter Jackson was
Mhm.
looking for like that old classical look to be part of
Mhm.
the project. Makes sense to hire old classical artists like those guys. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, these guys are making a really good living, and they just still draw like old paper pencil.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my point. Like, I don't want to be the person that says you should just all photo bash because I just know too many people who don't just photo bash. You know what I mean? Now, going back to, is it easier though to get a job? Yeah, but that's the question you have to ask yourself: is that the kind of job you want? And some people, yeah, absolutely, right?
Mhm.
For me, I don't photo bash, not because I'm like one of those like photo bash Nazis. Oh, you photo bash, you're not a real artist. I don't think that way at all. It's because I just paint faster. Nothing that photo bashing can do can give me the same results as if I just painted it. The whole reason why people photo bash is because they can't paint that good, right? And so they have to rely on a lot of the lighting from things that come from photos. But even then, like, you know, some of the best photo bashers can paint really well, right? So the only reason why like a lot of students and stuff kind of adopt that process is because they're still behind in their painting and they're just kind of working their way up, right? But me, like I can just paint, and if I photo bash, it's like exponential, and I photo bash all the time for client work, you know, because it's not my work, and they want something looking photorealistic by tomorrow. Okay, you know, it's like I just know too many people that do all kinds of stuff. Like someone mentioned Adrian Smith. Like, Adrian Smith is like one of those traditional kind of painters too, you know. But he does things digitally. He's not opposed to digital. In fact, a lot of traditional painters kind of go digital. There's only a few old school artists like me who probably don't. All right. Any final questions? Because now I'm done. I'm going to call this bad boy done now. Thank you guys for awesome questions as usual. Thank you guys for all the great work too. Appreciate y'all. I'm going to go ahead and end the class now. Good luck over the weekend. Have fun. Hang out with each other. Get some rest, like I should be getting rest right now. Didn't sleep well last night, and all day I've been like screwed up. At like 3 o'clock, I took like a 2-hour nap, and I still feel really tired. It's crazy. The schedule is all screwed up right now. Anywho, with that being said, appreciate y'all. Talk to you guys soon. Take care.
Bye.
Have a great weekend.